Well, hey, on today's episode, we are continuing the conversations from the 2025 Lakeland, Florida mayoral race. Today, I get to sit down with Kay Klymko talking about her race and what is important to her and the future for Lakeland. Come on, welcome to the show, Kay Klymko. Awesome. Hey, today we have with us, and continuing the conversations around the Lakeland mayoral race here in 2025. We're honored to have Kay Klymko with us today. Kay, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah,
Alec.
of course. Yeah, I'm excited. It was cool to already hear from two perspectives, and really excited to learn a little bit more about like your heart for Lakeland today and kind of what caused you to want to run for mayor.
Okay.
Yeah. How long have you been in Lakeland? How long has this been your home?
Well, if I can begin, Alec, with just saying I do have a little laryngitis.
Yes. So,
but I want people to know that I'm talking right through it and for them to feel comfortable. This is causing me no pain, so you don't have to worry. And it's, I've been at a forum in the last 2 days and another newscast and did the same thing. So
powering through.
I'm powering through.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I know it can't be the easiest right now, talk, but thank you so much for being with us and chatting with us. So,
and I have to tell you, I think how this started was a few weeks ago. I went to First Friday and I was out in the park dancing with the families to the music, and talking with them. And boom, boom, 3 days later, I came down with it. And since then, it's gone from here to there and here.
Well, there's so much. I mean, it's probably the time of the year, too. As soon as it starts to get cold, all the like allergens and all the sicknesses start going around, too.
Exactly.
I have a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. So, and one of them's in school, so we pass around all kinds of sicknesses in our house. Luckily we're through it. Hopefully, knock on wood, for the next foreseeable future. But yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, yeah. Tell me a little bit. As we get into talking about your heart for Lakeland and the race that you're running here for our next mayor. Tell me a little bit about like yourself and how you kind of came to Lakeland.
Okay. Well, my husband and I were both raised in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And we came to visit Florida every year for 30 years while we were raising our daughter. We looked so forward to that Florida vacation every year. And we would come down for a month. And in fact, we would tell our daughter, Lori, that, Lori, you're in Florida. You're in the name because L-O-R-I, F-L-O-R-I-D-A.
It's meant to be, yeah.
I didn't know she was really going to take that to heart. So when she graduated from college, she moved down here.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And she did her residency. She's a dietary, registered dietitian.
Mm-hmm.
So after that, she says, I'm heading for Florida. And my husband and I said, well, you know what? We're heading too. So we followed her down. And
that's awesome.
We came to Ormond Beach first in 2013 because that is where we always vacationed.
Mm-hmm.
So we felt like that was a second home. And also that it gave her a little space because she came to Lakeland.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So we thought, well, hour and a half drive, that's nice, comfortable. Let her, get her feet on the ground, develop independence, and we can enjoy Ormond Beach. Well, 2 hurricanes later. And
decided to go a little inward.
2 hurricanes later. And that was really something. And then Lori got married, had a baby. And I was on the track on I-4 every week to visit my beautiful granddaughter.
It's awesome.
Yeah. And I said, oh, no, this is just too far. This isn't going to work. Well, at the time, I had retired from a long career as a nurse practitioner, an administrator, a scientist, an educator, carrying out all sorts of functions like that in the Michigan area. And so when I retired from Wayne State, I actually flew down for a year back and forth every month.
Wow.
To turn over my responsibilities to the university, close out my research, I felt an obligation there. So I would go back and forth and kind
Hmm.
of pave the way. And then after the hurricanes, I had a job that I got part time on the East Coast for Florida healthcare plans. It's a large HMO,
Hmm.
and I did their older adult primary care program once a year for all their patients who were
Yeah.
above age 65. I would do a health and wellness checkup, make sure all the coding was right, order all screening labs, things that really needed to be done that had not been done for them in the year.
Hmm.
And so I did that for 9 years with them.
Wow. Yeah.
But in the interim, we had COVID and we
Mm.
moved here to Lakeland
Yeah.
to be closer. And I was able to take my job with me because I did telehealth them from my home. I
Hmm.
don't always want to in any way say COVID was a benefit to me, but
Yeah.
it did work out because then I could do telehealth from home.
Wow. Yeah. And
Yes.
it brought you here. It
Yeah,
brought you to Lakeland.
it
Yeah.
brought me here. And, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know a lot about Lakeland, but
Hmm.
I knew I did not want to be on the ocean side
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
those experiences. That was really frightening. I thought, oh, well, maybe if I just move to the middle of the state where Lori is, we'll be, quote, safe. Well, there is no safe place in Florida. I
Yeah.
learned very quickly that hurricanes move from their designated, level of going up one coast or the other and then coming right up the middle of Florida.
You
So,
never know.
yeah,
Yeah.
you don't know, but
Yeah.
I feel my son-in-law is a firefighter paramedic for the Lakeland
Oh,
department.
really? Yeah.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
he's been there a long time. He will continue to stay. So we knew that, this was not a situation where they always say, oh, if you follow your children, they're going to move and then you're going to be stuck there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, no, they're going to stay here. And when I got here, I saw how gorgeous it was. It's beautiful.
Hmm.
I'm a water person. I love all the lakes.
Yeah.
I love the downtown area and all the historic attributes. I'm a daughter of the American Revolution,
Mm.
and so I became their historian, and I worked with developing some of the historic preservation awards for some of our historic homes in Lakeland.
Really? Oh, that's
Yeah, so
awesome.
I've been doing that in the last few years too. So I've had a lot of activities going on here in Lakeland.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, for my wife and I mean, separately, we both moved here for college. Her a little bit earlier than myself, but I moved here in 2014. And even just to see the change that's happened, I mean, I know I'm a little bit prior to you coming here, but to 2014 to today, I mean, just the change and the growth, but has been remarkable. One thing though that I do think has always stood true, so one of the reasons why we love it. We actually moved away for 2 years. We moved up to Pennsylvania in 2020-ish, and like right after COVID, and moved back is because the community and the people here are just, I mean, they say the grass may be green on their sides. I don't know. I think this is pretty green grass here. Like we have incredible people, like, yeah. And it was just so special to us. And I'm assuming that's kind of what you moved here for family, but then you started to
Well,
experience
yes,
so
and
much of the beauty of it. Yeah.
and I think I run into so many people that have that similar kind of history of coming in from another state, a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
and going back and coming forward. So I think one advantage of that is you have exposure to different ways of doing things.
Sure. Yeah.
And you see what other communities are doing, and then you bring that experience back with you, as
Mhm.
opposed to an individual who's always been here.
Yeah,
You
for sure.
have a really fresh perspective.
Certainly. Yeah. And I'd love to talk to on the conversation regarding like experiences. Like you have some really unique experiences. And I think that's what's cool to hear from so many of the people that are running is that there's a uniqueness to their past experiences and their careers that brings something that could be like fresh perspective to our city. What would you say? I mean, one, I'd love to hear what kind of was the spark in you to say, hey, I'd love to run for office here
Yeah.
in Lakeland and run for mayor. And then two, what were some of the experiences, I guess, that you feel like really prepared you along the
Yeah.
way for that?
This this is not a sudden decision by
Yeah.
any means. I know I jumped into the race a little later than
Hmm.
some people, but that was because I had several programs. I have been. We have the Lakeland chapter of the DAR
Mm.
as our 100-year anniversary this
Wow.
year, December.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's amazing.
And the DAR just for
Daughters of the American
yeah.
Revolution.
Okay.
Yep. And
Hmm.
that is a community service nonprofit organization
Mm.
that values historic preservation, patriotism, and education.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
you have to have the lineage of proving that you're directly a descendant from a patriot of the
Mm.
Revolutionary War, which most people can do,
Yeah.
including African Americans now by DNA.
Yeah.
So we're trying to encourage more open and involvement of many different cultures.
Mm.
But so I was busy involved with the DAR and preparing. I actually wrote the booklet that we'll be giving for our commemorative luncheon
Oh, that's
this
awesome.
December. I summarized every 10 decades of services at the national, state, and local level that
Yeah.
the DAR has done for this community.
Mm.
And I put it together in a tribute to the history of the Lakeland chapter.
That's awesome.
So that took me 6 weeks this summer.
Yeah.
And then another 6 weeks to recertify for my advanced nurse family practitioner certification
Mm.
for 5 years because I don't want to let that go.
Sure. Yeah.
So that took me 12 weeks this summer to
So
do.
your summer.
So
Yeah.
it was my summer. And also there are many activities that you cannot do in a nonpartisan race once you apply for candidacy.
Mm.
So I did months of preparatory work behind the scenes,
Okay.
organizing and coordinating my supporters
Yeah.
to be out canvassing and such. So that's why I entered a little race a
Mhm.
little later into the race,
Sure.
not
Yeah.
because it was a last minute decision by any means.
Yeah.
The other question that you asked is I look at this as a pivotal point for Lakeland and for myself
Hmm.
because ever since I would say for the last 30, 40 years, I have slowly worked through family practice situations involving indigent care
Yeah.
in neighborhood clinics, managing children and families in poverty and their health care, being their community medical provider in their
Hmm.
neighborhood. So I did that for a while, long time, and that kind of prepared me to really see what the needs of these families are that are so impoverished
Yeah.
and how much support is needed. So that built kind of a framework of me of where my heart and energy was to
Hmm.
service that population.
Yeah.
And then as I moved into um, furthering my education and my professional pursuits, at age 51, I started my PhD, if
Wow.
you can imagine.
Yeah.
So
That's awesome, though. Yeah. Yeah. It's very
so
cool.
I went from taking care of families and children in primary care,
Hmm.
a job administering in a hospital, overseeing 400 employees and 3 levels of management, a lot of community public health experience. And that moved me into saying, gee, I think I want to focus now on the older adults, that end of
Mm.
the spectrum.
Yeah.
So I targeted my research for a period of 5 years at Wayne State. I targeted it towards working with the older adult population,
Hmm.
in particular African American hypertensives.
Mm.
And I wrote a National Institute of Health grant,
Yeah.
and I got funded, and they funded my entire PhD program because I found a gap in the literature.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a
That's a great
gap.
win. Yeah.
Nationally, we had never really studied how African American hypertensives' cognition affects their ability to care for themselves over time,
Mm.
and if they have impairments, can they still do well with their self care? Managing medication,
Hmm.
nutrition, activity, and that kind of thing. So I really devoted my energies to that.
Yeah, yeah.
And I found out from my study and my research, it's all published if you look
Sure.
up my name. But I really found how integral social support is
Mm.
to help older adults do well. Now, that sounds really intuitive, like, well, that only makes sense. Why would you have to spend all that money and 5 years of your time to study it? But, until it's proven,
Yeah.
until you have the evidence, it's just hearsay. It's not fact.
Mm.
So I was able to show that through my research that how important that is. So I brought that history of interest and focus on the importance of young people and their adults, especially impoverished ones,
Yeah.
and families, along with how the movement through time as they get older requires so much social support from their families in
Hmm.
order to really live well and feel healthy.
Yeah.
So I brought that here at just the right timing, I think,
Hmm.
because there is that kind of deficit of nobody with that kind of skill in the city commission.
Mm.
There's not anyone with health background about family care, background in indigent care, the homeless, the older adults. And what I see is happening in Lakeland right now is we've grown so rapidly.
Sure.
It's just been unhampered. The growth, the infrastructure hasn't even been able to keep up with it. And the focus has been on this growth, which has been a great economic,
Hmm.
vitalization of the community. But what we've exchanged for that is we've left behind a lot of people.
Mm.
We have 50% of our population, 33% that are what we call Alice individuals. Have you heard that term?
No.
I think it was coined by the United Way, but it's asset limited, income constrained, but
Hmm.
employed people. So
Okay.
those are the people that are living just above the poverty line and barely able to make ends meet, living
So
from
yeah, we
paycheck to
paycheck
paycheck.
to paycheck is what I was going to say. Yeah.
And then the 17% of poverty people living in the poverty level,
Mm.
that's roughly 50%. And those people are really
Mm.
struggling to exist in an affordable living situation where they can afford housing, groceries, insurance, property tax,
Yeah.
all of that kind of thing. So we we need to stop right now and take a pause, I think, and
Hmm.
let the pendulum swing a little bit back. Not that we can't have growth for specific areas, like maybe fill in some of the less dense areas in the downtown area that we know we
Sure.
can fill. Still that kind of thing. But big sprawling development and big roads and that kind of thing, I think we need to take a pause and address some of the programs and issues of the people that are really in need right now.
Mm.
And I think that's the expertise I have. I don't see that expertise in any of the commissioners
Yeah.
that are
Is
running.
is that I'm just out of curiosity because I've that would be huge news to me too of the 50%, like that 33 and 17ish there of like just living either below or right at
Mhm.
the poverty line. Is that like a recent study here that's come out or
I think that's general statistics that we know
okay.
exist there. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it's been in the papers. It's been
Hmm.
documented.
Oh, okay.
Um, so
Yeah, it's I mean, and then I'd love to look that up too, but it's so interesting because what I find to be true about Lakeland too is it's a pretty big city. Where it feels in a way it's like it's long. My wife and I we're in what we would call like the central, kind of closer to downtown, but then you have so far up the north side and the south side too, and I understand there's probably a lot of differences there and things that maybe I don't see not going to that side of town all that
yeah,
often.
I
Uh,
think I think what really helped me
mhm.
was I met with David Bunch.
Mm.
David Bunch, he's a leader in our community, And because this is my third campaign,
Yeah, yeah.
3 times the charm.
There you go.
I
Yeah.
ran for city, I ran for county, and now I'm running for mayor. So I've really been campaigning over 3 years. So
Wow.
I've had
Yeah.
a chance to talk to a lot of people. And I went to David Bunch in his office, and he has an aerial view of a map from Tampa to Orlando on
Wow.
his wall. This takes up the whole wall. And you look at that and you go, oh, wow, there is no place left to grow in Lakeland because you're not seeing all those little infill areas that are half acre in the
Sure.
city that still have opportunity to grow and where, according to our comprehensive plan, they want to develop
Yeah.
because it's more efficient than urban sprawl. Because then if you do urban sprawl, you're getting to have to build utilities to support those areas where we
Yeah,
already
yeah.
have the utilities, and some of the infrastructure.
For sure.
So on the short range anyway, that's kind of been the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And this map says it very well. There are some spots, and yes, in the northeast, there's areas for growth. In the southwest, around Riverstone, they're growing there between 540 and Pipkin Road,
Yeah.
that area.
Mhm.
And that presents unique problems too, by the way.
Mm.
But really, I'm talking 50 to 100 years. You were talking 10.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we have to start thinking
For
of
very long term.
50 to 100 because the only direction for growth, when you look at that aerial map for Polk County, is south of Bartow and east. So, we have to start making the connections with all of our municipalities and start seeing what we can do to help each other
Sure.
and move in a way that's efficient for long-term growth.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying too. It is so interesting. It does feel like, there's when you maybe drive up and down South Florida or areas like that, it's hard to picture growing anymore. But there are areas that we're just not really considering.
Yeah.
I'd love to understand a little bit more just for personal too, because like what you're talking about, because I think I'd love to know it too. And I think it's helpful for those who are considering and voting and all that stuff to understand too, kind of the pause you're referencing too in, yes, like our city's growing so much, but how do we also help the families and the people that
That's
are
right.
living paycheck to paycheck or even below that, I feel like it's probably a unique place to be in, and considering that I think Polk County was one of the most rapid growth county in
Oh, yeah.
America
Right.
just a couple of years ago
Right.
due to COVID. Everybody's leaving California, moving to Texas, New
Right.
York, and moving to Florida. I mean, excuse me, we moved from Pennsylvania back to Florida, so we were
Right.
part of that.
And us too.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
us too.
But so like the balancing the necessity of, oh man, just so many people are naturally moving to this area, and there are new companies and jobs, and obviously Amazon and things like that kind of in the area. So it brings more people to work and needing the infrastructure to house these people. But then also at the same time, how do we care for people? Does that make sense? I'd love to, I guess, just getting clarity too on how do you see us balancing that?
Yeah, I think it is a balance because I think we have to do both at the same time. But we have to do our due diligence. And I think even Polk County, if you look at some of their, which I had in the last year, even they were talking about slowing the permits down,
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there is a real reality there that we need to slow down a bit and really be judicious in our review, make sure the infrastructure is in place, and we don't prematurely give permits when the infrastructure is not in place.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's tough to do. I'm fresh. I don't owe anybody.
Yeah.
Do you understand?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have, I think, a total of $2,500 in contributions to my campaign.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally made the stance at the beginning of this. I don't want anyone to give me more than $5,000 total because I don't feel ethically that it's right for me to spend $80,000 on a campaign when we have children who are hungry, families who don't have a place to live and are living in their cars.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's wasteful. And I think when you look at, and it's public, it's all public on the city of
Sure.
Lakeland
Yeah.
government, where the contributions are coming for what candidates and who they are supporting and how they're spending their money. And I say, when you talk about fiscal responsibility to
Mm,
me, the way you run a campaign is how you're going to run a city,
mm,
right? I mean, you don't
sure.
suddenly change. And I think if if you're willing to spend that kind of money
Hmm.
on flyers, you know, continuously, when I can't justify it. I can't
Mm,
justify that kind. So my feeling is how you see me act in a campaign is how you're going to see me take fiscal responsibility to heart
yeah. What you
in the
see is what you
city.
get. Yeah.
What you see is what you get.
Yeah. Mm,
And I will follow morally and ethically with my
mm.
behaviors. I won't say one thing and something else I'm doing,
Sure.
you
And I
know.
think that's incredible. It's a very noble thing too, because, I'm sure there are so many things you have to manage and to consider as a mayor, and the thought of that you had, and I'd love to kind of hear maybe some ideas you have too on this, like the family who, we've seen it over the past couple years nationwide as prices are increasing. I went to the grocery store
Mhm.
today and I was like, oh
I
my
know.
gosh,
My
I got
husband,
2 meals for
my
what I
hu-
could have gotten,
yeah,
the price of what I could have gotten like a week's worth of meals a couple years ago.
my husband said to me that just this morning, if my father knew a can of coffee was $20, he'd be rolling in his grave. Our
Yeah,
parents would have never understood this.
it's
But I
yeah,
think,
but oh, sorry, but that to say of like all of that, like how do we help what are, I guess, or what are some ways you would consider helping like that family that is living out of their car
I
or
th-
just struggling that way?
yes,
Yeah.
I think the major thing that has to be done, which I don't think has been done, and that's
Mm,
been part of our problem, is I think our city government has to own the problem.
mm,
And I have not seen them own the problem. We have a village of organizations and uh, efforts and coalition, and it's all seems to me to be fragmented. There's, different groups helping the homeless, and they have different philosophies, and they fill a different niche for
mm-hmm.
meeting the needs. And they'll say, "Oh, we all know each other, and we talk informally, and we do this and that." But the point being, there's no one looking out for the forest
Mm,
as opposed to all these different trees and making sure what the whole forest looks like. I think the city in other countries, in other nations, cities, states, in my own Lansing in Michigan,
yeah, yeah.
where I come from, they spent several years, the commission, on very directed, purposeful exploration of what they can do for the homeless.
Mm,
Other cities in Washington and Oregon have owned the problem and are working on it.
yeah.
I don't see when the comprehensive plan was done for taking us to 2030 by the city commission. Homeless was mentioned, but it was just at the, there was no priority on that,
Mm,
you know.
yeah.
So that's where I say, first of all, I think the city has to come around and say, when we say we want a vibrant community that's all inclusive means everyone.
Mm,
And we have to own up that we will provide the support to pull all these groups together and find out where are our gaps. And I can give you one person reported to me, we have a gap. I mean, if someone shows up and they're overdosing too
sure.
much
Yeah.
drugs, too much alcohol, they show up at one of the centers there for an overnight stay. They're not going to be allowed to be admitted. Where do
Mm-hmm.
they go? Do they just lay out in the woods? I mean, we do not have a very short term, like a 1 to 3 day stay, an acute stay,
Mm-hmm.
where those individuals can be going to and receiving treatment and
Yeah.
then filtered into a program. So without
Mm-hmm.
anyone overlooking, do you see,
Sure.
responsibly and
Yeah.
being accountable for the overall plan to address these things, and how do
Hmm.
these spokes of the wheel all fit together? Um, I don't see us making progress.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know. I know we have so many awesome organizations, and that kind of they're all kind of very close together in the downtown, moving towards the north side area. Like I mean, there's Parker Street Ministry, there's Gospel Inc., there's
Right.
Lighthouse, there's so many of those that are
Talbot.
Talbot House. Yeah, there we go. There's so many of those that are down there. I honestly I don't know. I thought that maybe there isn't one that does something for like getting people who are overdosed to a hospital or to some sort of connection. Um, but do you feel like is what you're saying maybe is like we need more than those sort of resources that we have right now?
We
Or
we have resources, but we've not taken ownership. That
hmm
it's our responsibility to really work with them, and you know, overall identify the plan where the gaps are, strategize that kind of thing.
yeah.
We have not owned the problem.
Mm. It's
And
interesting.
there's
Yeah.
people who don't want to own the problem
Yeah.
because they feel if we own it and we help it, more will come.
hmm
And
Yeah.
that's a very common
Yeah.
idea.
It's interesting. I definitely don't think that we have, and I hate to even say problem. I want to say a better word than that, but I think the homelessness like issue, I don't think we've definitely solved that, or how do we help people, maybe even with the best. I know we have some incredible ministries and organizations down in that area. For me and my perspective as being a Lakelander since about 2014 in that time. So actually just about 11 years now. Um, what I guess I have noticed this, and again, this is just from my perspective too, is when I first moved down here, it was very well known that like you did not go downtown to Munn Park to that whole area. It's interesting. I had the brothers who started Black and Brew were here a couple of weeks ago, and they were even saying, when we launched Black and Brew downtown, it was not the place to be. It was not like what it is today, as vibrant and all these incredible businesses. It was, there was known as maybe a little bit more of a dangerous area. A lot more of like the homeless community was encamped there and living and throughout there. And what I guess I've noticed now again, and you may know more than I do in this particular area, I've seen that be night and day difference from what I experienced 2014, 2015, 2016 to today is it definitely is a more vibrant area. And I think that there's hopefully, and my hope is that those ministries and organizations have been more equipped to help those people and get them the care they needed. And,
Or they've escaped into the woods a little better.
or maybe,
And that's the thing. That's,
hmm
they're not so visible, but you have to ask yourself why that is.
Mm,
On for example, on Wednesday mornings, there's a group, and these are just community residents that have come together and
yeah.
feed them.
hmm
Average like 75 meals, every time they go out there.
Wow.
But this is what I'm saying. It shouldn't have to be
hmm
based on individual volunteers doing something.
Yeah.
That's pathetic.
Sure. I
And
understand. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, the ownership of the problem, and then having individuals at the top who understand it in the
hmm
commission and are dedicated to working on the issues.
For sure.
I think that's and I think that's something I can provide with my background in
hmm
community development
Yeah.
and
And
liaison work.
and that is incredible. It's definitely a important thing, and I think that it's a noble thing. It's also really taking care of your city, not just from what looks great, but also who lives in this and who calls Lakeland home, and how can everybody enjoy it to the same degree. You
Yeah.
know,
Because it really just might be like we were talking, hidden. It's not gone away.
sure, yeah,
It's hidden. Just like the idea of the West development along Memorial,
hmm
to make it visibly pleasing, spur some
yeah. I'd
nice
love to hear your thoughts on that one.
nice
Yeah,
businesses along the way. But you go in 1 block, 2 blocks north, and
hmm
you're into real troubled areas
sure,
of,
yeah,
and where the Coleman Bush building is and out there. I mean, I was out canvassing in those neighborhoods, okay?
Mm-hmm.
My son-in-law says, "Don't go near those streets, Mom." He's worried about my safety. And I go to when I can, I go to the neighborhood association, the Diggs Association, which the neighborhood associations are huge in that area,
Mm-hmm.
and have helped the Robinsons and Veronica Roundtree. They have helped tremendously in being communicative with what the problems are and working with the commission and trying to resolve them. And that's what we need on a larger scale
Yeah.
is more active neighborhood associations. But I've been a member of the NAACP. I go to their meetings. I I don't see commissioners there,
Mm.
except at election time.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I go to NAACP. I go to the neighborhood associations. I'm try to go to the events of Save Our Children, which is active for the community.
Mm.
The PAL, the police athletically, I can't say enough about up in that area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the development of their field house is critical, and we
Mhm.
need. And that's a special project. I'm a strong supporter of because, again, the background I've learned it's
Yeah.
the children that we have to impact and their connections with police and positive sources. I mean, they're going to develop this field house that will be amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just right off of Memorial, right?
Yeah,
In that area.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit. Like I said, it's in a few blocks. And I said at a forum, people were laughing because I said, we're giving them champagne along Memorial. They want water.
Yeah.
They want water. They want their street lights a block up fixed so that their children don't have to walk in the dark to school.
Yeah.
Now, see, that's where I feel, that we have to listen to what the neighborhoods want.
Mm-hmm.
And that should be our priority, not what's eye-pleasing along Memorial.
Yeah.
We have to take care of the people first and foremost.
So, and I feel like you've answered this too, because I know that is kind of a seemingly hot topic in our city right now. And I think I was able to chat with some of our other, candidates about this, but I've heard different words. I've heard revitalization. I've heard gentrification. I've heard it all, but like whatever's happening on Memorial, I think it sounds like what your stance, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is like, hey, it's not a priority at this moment, right? There's other things to address.
I think other
Mm-hmm.
areas that involve well-being and quality in our community, the ones that have been left behind, go for, 8 to 9 blocks north of Memorial, and let's work there. I mean, you can do a little bit along Memorial if you, to fix it up, but we're talking about people that are asking for help.
Yeah.
And we need to listen to that. Just like, the other thing is the Wabash extension to recycle. We keep talking about the road diet,
Yeah. Yeah.
and how to address that. And the Wabash extension to take the alleviation of the pressure on the roads on Florida South and on Hardin Road, so it's not so busy.
Mm-hmm.
But what are we doing in that sense? Okay, we're robbing Peter to save Paul because we're going to build road over grasslands. We're going to build more concrete, affect our water, aquifer, recharging. We have to think of the balance all the time.
Yeah. It's such a unique conversation of like, I mean, and I see like so many of the points made is that there's our city is booming and growing, and there's so many things at one time to really be
That's true.
to be thinking about the reality of sometimes I hate being on South Florida around 5 p.m. Or Hardin or either of those areas, and then also recognizing that as our city grows, and like we have more people here to bring more uniqueness and more businesses and more opportunity to Lakeland, that it's naturally that our city is going to expand and there will be new places that will have businesses pop up and things like that. And that's what the interesting part, at least for me personally, is thinking about Memorial as, okay, well, it feels like somewhat of the extension of where a lot of so much already is downtown, definitely not to like the expense of people's livelihood or like thinking about that over others, but it's just so much to be balancing, And I'm sure you're considering that and stepping into this role.
It is a lot because, I think, well, one of my goals is to try to address that people are getting the value for the taxes that they pay. Well, in Lake Bonnie, they're not getting value for the taxes. They can. I went out and met with them for like 3 hours and went and saw everything, and they're not getting value for the taxes they pay. They say we're still paying our taxes. Nobody has addressed anything here for like in the last year. And
I'm unfamiliar. What's going on?
Well, Lake Bonnie is where they had the severe flooding after Milton last year.
Right.
And so it's been a year, and essentially it's not been fixed. They're really sitting ducks is what they are. And they came out with an article in the Ledger this last week about the short and long-term plans and long-term plan in working with the county, trying to get $100 million grant, which it will take because essentially the drainage canal probably may have to be completely moved, and because Lake Parker, the capacity is not there to accept the drainage, and who knows the effluent or the nutrients that have settled in there. That is one of the reasons perhaps that it can't take the capacity. There's still a lot we don't know.
Sure.
But those people, that's a priority for them. I mean, their houses have been ruined out there. Some of them are just, it's a tragedy. I've been in their houses. It's just, and then you have the people in the Southwest between Pipkin and 540.
Yeah.
That's the Riverstone, large area of development. That's a huge area of development. And I was out there canvassing, and they are still developing out there. Well, several years ago, the city contracted with Polk County to provide fire services for them because there is no fire station there. And the fire station that is in a place that they cannot get to those people in less than 15 minutes. So their house is going to burn down, in 15 minutes. So I'm very proud of our fire department. I mean, they have an ISO 1 rating, which is the top supreme. They are the only fire station in comparative size, quality, and service that has both has been approved and retains the standards of excellence at both state and national level accreditation, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But we're contracting with a less than fire service for those areas. And so those people are not getting the value for the city taxes that they pay. And I'm sure there are thousands. There's thousands of them out there.
Yeah.
And they are not even aware of that.
Man, that's interesting.
So we have to build a fire station out there.
Sure, yeah.
So we've got to repair Lake Bonnie, and that's going to take $100 million. We've got to build a new fire station. I mean, and that's just a few things.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's so many
It is,
hands in the pots of what, and that's the key there. Right there is who decides what's the priority, right?
Yeah.
To spend the money. There's a limited pot of money. Who decides what the priorities are? And I'm saying that I'm a priority for people.
Yeah.
When I see suffering, when I see safety issues, and that's where my priority is going to be. The fact that it looks nice is not my priority.
I love that. Yeah. I'd love to hear, too. I think you've kind of given us two, and if you want to add more to that, that's totally fine. But something I've asked throughout these interviews is, what are obviously you step into the mayoral seat here potentially in November, and it's 4 to 8 years, right? Depending upon overall.
The term is 4 years.
4 years, right? So
and the amendment, there's an amendment coming up. You understand on the vote ballot to change it to 5 terms total, 3 city and 2. Mayor.
Yeah.
So potentially you could have a person in a position for 20 or in the city commission for 20 years and then receive a pension.
Wow.
Which I don't support, by the way.
Yeah.
This amendment.
I'm sure we can get into that another time too.
I know.
But there's so much. Yeah, I'd love to hear and even if you can add to this, but I know asking that question of, man, what are the 3 things that you'd love to accomplish stepping into that seat of mayor? One seemingly is that we're taking a real focus on the people who are struggling day to day, financially, and how are they getting the care they need. 2, maybe even like the fire stations of are everybody in our community is getting the same access with their tax dollars, for just because maybe they live in a different location or live more out south. Is there anything you'd add to that? Maybe 1 or 2 more that
Well,
would something you'd love to accomplish?
I would love to accomplish number one,
Mm-hmm.
more community involvement.
Yeah.
And that can be facilitated with structures we already have, the neighborhood associations,
Mm-hmm.
working with them and getting their more input. They're underdeveloped. There aren't as many that are active. There's some that aren't active at all, and there's some that are really active.
Yeah.
But I think more visibility of the mayor with the neighborhood associations, because that's
Mm-hmm.
a structural mechanism. So that's in place, and we can do well with engaging people better that way in
Yeah.
governance, in the election process, and providing input. Secondly, I would say that we need to swing the pendulum to make sure that we're taking care of the real critical needs of our very vulnerable populations,
Mm-hmm.
the youth that are at risk in the neighborhoods, the seniors who need the senior hub desperately because it will provide the social connections and coordination with the community. And the third would be making sure that people are getting value for the taxes that they pay.
Yeah.
And the examples I've given is Bonnie Park. We need to really spend some effort there,
Mm-hmm.
and also in the Southwest with the building of the plans for expediting building a fire station there.
Yeah.
Those would be what I would say.
Incredible. Well, Kay, thank you so much for being with me, and having this conversation. I think we talked about this before we went live and recording this. I think it is helpful, especially on the local level, and for podcasts like this or just conversations, for people to be able to get to know the person that's behind the name on the ballot. And you alluded to this too, but maybe some people have different convictions of how much they will be spending on a campaign, or the ability of flyers or stands or whatever. I actually did see a yard sign for you the other day, just as I was driving. I saw one of your yard signs just the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, but
I have a few of those.
but yeah, it was cool because I was like, oh man, I'm getting to talk to her this upcoming Sunday. But
One thing I did want to say is that
Mhm.
I think the city has an opportunity in that they have a well-prepared individual that is in the right place at the right time.
Mhm.
And I think that you can vote for the status quo, which
Mhm.
I feel has moved essentially in the wrong direction
Mm.
right now. They're not at a mindset to be able to change, to move in the direction that we need to be moved at this point. They were okay 5 years ago, but right now we need a person who has a skill set to move in a little bit of a different direction for a few years.
Mhm.
So either you can vote for the status quo and maintain that, or you can vote for a fresh perspective with a skill set that can help us move along in a direction that will take care of our people, which is needed right now.
I love that. I would love to do this for you, because especially for people that are going to listen to this conversation and then they're going to be thinking and prayerfully considering or preparing for that November 5th date, right? November 4th. Oh, okay, good. We got this.
I
November
know
4th.
it's coming up so quick.
It's soon. So November 4th is when you can get out there and vote. What are some ways that they can also get connected? Do you have like a website or some social media
do.
that they can find you at?
Yes. Kay
Mm-hmm.
hyphen Klymko, KLYMKO.com. And when you get to my website, hit the little Facebook icon at the top on the right, click on that, and it'll take you to my Facebook page where I post different activities I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on, and that kind of thing.
That's awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, and I would encourage anybody listening to this to take the time to obviously you've listened, if you're hearing this, you've listened to the full conversation now at this point, and just be preparing yourself for what is obviously best for our city and what you connect with. But Kay, thank you so much for being with me. And I've thoroughly enjoyed this. This was awesome.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Alex, so much for inviting me.
Of course. Yeah.